This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Today's headlines. A former spokesperson of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict has lauded Vice President Sara Duterte's remarkable efforts in combating the insurgency in the country. Echoing her father's legacy, former President Rodrigo Duterte, Vice President Sara Duterte is determined to bring about the ultimate demise of the CPP-NPA-NDF. Meanwhile, the Philippine Navy reported a decrease in the number of Chinese vessels in the West Philippine Sea following the civilian convoy incident at Bajo de Masinloc. We'll explore the implications of this development. For our top stories around the globe, the United States and China have confirmed their defense chiefs' participation in an upcoming summit in Singapore, aiming to address key issues and enhance communication between the two nations. I'm Jayne Codnita. Newsline World starts now. A former high-ranking NTF-ELCAC official spoke about Vice President Sara Duterte's contributions to the war against CPP-NPA-NDF. MJ Mondihar reports.
A day before Vice President Sara Duterte's birthday on May 31st, a former government spokesperson praised Duterte's contribution to the fight against CPP-NPA-NDF. This is especially significant as VP Sara also serves as the Education Secretary of the country. In an interview with SMNI, former NTF-ELCAC spokesperson Dr. Lorraine Bado asserted that the Vice President is a significant challenge for the AG teachers and Kabataan party list, particularly in the recruitment of teachers and students into leftist operations.
Napakalaking balakid. Dumating na yung pinakamalas na buhay nila. You know why? Kasi ang Vice President natin, no, nakausap ko yan ano yung puso niya? Puso ng nanay din no? Hindi naman siguro unusual yon, no? Ang pagkakaiba lang kasi ngayon, alam na natin yung information. Si Vice President, dahil taga Davao siya, first hand ang kanyang experience sa karahasan ng mga CPP-NPA-NDF, naging mayora pa siya.
VP Sara is known for her all-out campaign against communism, even when she was still the mayor of Davao. Because of this, she is always the target of black propaganda from left-leaning party list organizations.
Mga kababayan, gusto kong malaman ninyo na ang tanging layunin ng CPP, NPA at NDFP ay sirain ang pundasyon ng ating demokrasya, pabagsakin ang mga institusyon ng pamahalaan, at kaladkarin tayo sa kahirapan, kaguluhan at kawalan ng hustisya.
Alam na alam niya yan at hindi din siya titigil. So gaano kalaking balakid. Napakaswerte natin ang ating DepEd Secretary ay ganyan. Kilalang kilala niya ang CPP at hindi siya mag-aatubili, no, na gagawin kung ano ang dapat niyang gawin.
Even as calls for her resignation as Education Secretary persist, Dr. Badu wishes VP Sara continued strength on her birthday and to remain vigilant and strong, protecting the youth against NPA recruitment.
We're very grateful that the Vice President na DepEd Secretary, sakto talaga, no? Sakto talaga. Very, very brave, very courageous, very clear. Kilalang kilala niya ang kalaban na ito at hindi siya natatakot.
For Government of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
Following the civilian convoy at Bajo de Masinloc, the Philippine Navy announced that the number of Chinese vessels in the West Philippine Sea has decreased. Let's hear more details from Almar Forzuelo.
In April, the Philippine Navy discovered a sudden increase in the number of Chinese maritime militia vessels in the West Philippine Sea a few weeks before the Baliktan Exercise 2024. Based on Philippine Navy records, more than 100 Chinese vessels were sighted in the disputed area. Among these, 110 were Chinese maritime militia vessels, 11 were Chinese Coast Guard, and 3 were People's Liberation Army Navy ships. From May 14 to May 20, 153 Chinese ships were sighted in the West Philippine Sea. Among these, 15 were Chinese Coast Guard, 7 were People's Liberation Army Navy ships, and more than 100 were Chinese maritime militia vessels in Bajo de Masinloc. Meanwhile, from May 21 to 27, The number of Chinese ships decreased to 122. Among these, 15 were Chinese Coast Guards, 5 were People's Liberation Army Navy ships, and 102 were Chinese maritime militia vessels. Commodore Roy Vincent Trinidad, Philippine Navy spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, stated that the decrease in the number of Chinese ships occurred after the civilian convoy at Bajo de Masinloc.
If you look at the overall picture, from 153 the other week to 122 on the week ending yesterday, so there was a drastic decrease. Also in Bajo de Masinloc, we could attribute this to the conduct of the Atin Ito caravan, which coincided with the spike in the numbers of the maritime militia and the Chinese Coast Guard in Bajo de Masinloc.
The official explained that it is not always that there are many ships in Bajo de Masinloc because it depends on Chinese activities.
Actually, not in Taiwan. The numbers will depend on, our monitor depends on the activities in the West Philippine Sea. Sometimes there will be more numbers in Ayungin Shoal, sometimes more in Pag-asa, others in Bajo de Masinloc. And when they are not out there deployed, we see a lot of them in Mischief Reef.
Following this, the official asserted that China will use all tactics to gain control of the West Philippine Sea.
Lawfare is one of the instruments in their cookbook. The ultimate objective of China is sea control of the South China Sea. They will use the different instruments of their national power to assert that.
For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, deployed backhoes to remove trash that could cause flooding in communities around Manila Bay. Despite this, some senators have pointed out that the ongoing land reclamation project approved by the DENR could pose a greater concern by raising water levels. Carlo de la Peña reports.
To expedite the rehabilitation of Manila Bay, the government has distributed backhoes on barges to 11 local government units in the Manila Bay area. Recipients include Malabon, Marikina, Muntinlupa, Pasay, Pasig, Pateros, Quezon City, Taguig, Obando, San Fernando, and Bacoor, Cavite. The equipment is meant to remove waste from rivers and estuaries through desilting and dredging. This initiative was made possible through the collaboration of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, and the DENR, with support from Senator Cynthia Villar, who sponsored the latter agency's budget. Desilting and dredging are crucial measures to prevent potential flooding, especially during the rainy season.
We encourage the respective recipients to also utilize them in enhancing resiliency against climate change, against increased precipitation and severe flooding, which threaten the lives and properties in their respective communities.
However, despite the government's actions, concerns remain regarding the ongoing land reclamation project in Manila Bay. The project might cause water that should flow into the sea to return to the rivers. Some of the backhoe recipients are expected to be affected by this.
Ano yung bay yun eh. Maapektuhan nga sila pag tinambakan nila yun, di ba? Kami hindi naman namin patatambakan. We will clean it pa nga para yung aming tubig coming from our 4 rivers. Las Piñas River, Parañaque River, Zapote River, Molino River can go out of Manila Bay.
On August 7, 2023, President Bongbong Marcos ordered the suspension of all reclamation projects in Manila Bay. But this has not been formalized or released as an executive order. Currently, reclamation continues in some areas of Manila Bay, which has been opposed by several senators. Senator Lauren Ligarda questioned why the DENR, which issues environmental compliance certificates, or ECC, allowed this to happen.
I am still wondering how the DENR had issued the ECC. Maganda rin tignan ng kanilang mga ECC ang pinagbasihan ng pag-grant nito na sana'y hindi ito magdulot ng lalong pagbaha sa Metro Manila. Dahil common sense, pagliliit ang lawa, liit ang bay, diba, mag-overflow.
On August 9 of last year, Senator Chis Escudero recommended filing charges against government officials who might have been bribed to allow the reclamation project to proceed. According to him, it might have negative effects on the environment and the lives of our citizens. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Up next, The jury in former U.S. President Donald Trump's hush money trial fails to reach a verdict on the first day of deliberations after weeks of testimonies. And a foreigner who bears a striking resemblance to a famous Hollywood superstar becomes an overnight sensation in Thailand. Newsline World will be back after the break. After weeks of testimonies, the jury that deliberated the first day of former U.S. President Donald Trump's hush money trial failed to reach a verdict. Let's find out the details from SARA Santos.
Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged. The whole thing is rigged.
The fate of former U.S. President Donald Trump in regard to his hush money trial is in the hands of a 12-member jury. But after almost 5 hours of deliberation, which was done in secret on Wednesday, 28th of May, at the Manhattan Courthouse in New York City, the day ended with a hung jury. This means that jurors failed to agree on a verdict. This indicates that the jury has not reached a decision, and this often leads to a mistrial where a new trial is required. During the deliberation, the jury sent a note to Judge Juan Mercian requesting for testimonies to be reread, particularly of David Peckers, former president and CEO of American Media Incorporated, and Michael Cohen's, Trump's former lawyer. To note, the jury do not hold copies of the said testimonies. It can be remembered that prosecutors said Trump and his allies conspired to potentially prevent embarrassing stories during the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign through hush money payments, including porn actress Stormy Daniels. But before the trial on Wednesday even started, Trump made accusations saying that the cases filed against him, including the trial itself, were rigged. Moreover, Trump highlighted his gag order.
Every time I speak to you, you ask me simple questions. I'm not allowed to give you the answer because I'm gagged by this judge. But we have a very, very serious problem here. I mean, our country's going bad. And remember, and let me just leave you with this. This is all because of Joe Biden and I don't even think it's him. I don't think he's smart enough to think about it. But it's the people that surround him in the office. They're smart. They're fascists, they're communists, but they're smart. And they're ruining our country.
Meanwhile, deliberations on the hush money trial is set to resume for a second day on Thursday, May 29th, 9:30 in the morning local time, something that is much awaited not only by the people in America but also the whole world, as whatever verdict the jury reaches will become a historic decision. Reporting, this has been SARA Santos, SMNI News.
Iran has provided Yemen's Houthi rebels with a ballistic missile, according to a news agency owned by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Jayne will give us the details.
Assalamu alaikum. State media linked to Iran's military branch reported that Tehran's sea-launched ballistic missile Qatar is now in the hands of the Houthis. The medium-range ballistic missile designed and developed by Iran was built at a top-secret facility in the country. The weapon system will enhance the capability of the Yemeni fighters to target maritime vessels. Houthi attacks in the Red Sea had intensified since the Israel-Hamas war erupted on the 7th of October and after Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei called on Muslim nations to launch a blockade against Israeli trade. The rebel group mostly targets vessels with links to Israel. The move is taken as a sign of support for Palestinians in Gaza. The Houthis are part of the so-called Axis of Resistance, a political and military coalition led by Iran that operates in West Asia and North Africa. Reporting from Kuwait, I am Melchizedek Cadiz, your global citizen correspondent for God and for our beloved country, the Philippines.
The United States and China confirmed the participation of their defense chiefs for an upcoming summit in Singapore. Renju Modekilio provides this report.
Top military officials from China and the United States prepare to meet for rare formal talks in Southeast Asia. China's Ministry of National Defense confirmed the participation of Minister Dong Jun in the annual Asia-Pacific Premier Defense Summit Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore from May 31 to June 2. Secretary Lloyd Austin will also be present, according to the U.S. Defense Department. Formal talks between the two defense chiefs are highly expected. The annual Defense Summit enables decision makers from across the Asia-Pacific, including Europe and the Middle East, to address the most pressing regional security issues. The anticipated meeting between the two defense chiefs comes after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping and other high-ranking Chinese officials during a trip to Beijing in April. The summit will take place in the wake of shifting geopolitics and escalating situations in the Asia-Pacific region. Reporting from Singapore, I'm Renju Modiquillo, your global citizen correspondent for God and my beloved country, the Philippines.
The Royal New Zealand Air Force sent humanitarian aid to Papua New Guinea, particularly in areas that were hard to access. The assistance came following days of recovery efforts in the aftermath of a deadly landslide that buried hundreds alive and forced thousands to flee from their homes. Trisha Molina reports.
A C-130H Hercules aircraft departed from a military base in Auckland, New Zealand, carrying relief supplies such as tools, shelter, and hygiene products for landslide-hit victims. The aid package, estimated at $1.5 million, was part of New Zealand's offer of support to Papua New Guinea. The New Zealand Defence Force prides itself on its long history of assisting Pacific Island countries in need. More than 2,000 people are believed to have been buried alive in the tragic landslide after part of a mountain collapsed in Papua New Guinea's northern region on Friday. Rescuers race against time to find potential survivors by using their bare hands to dig through muddy rubble and debris, despite fears that chances of finding someone alive are slim. Tragic disasters, severe weather phenomena, geopolitical tensions, economic fallout, and escalating clashes have rocked different parts of the world since the start of the year. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
A foreigner who hit the jackpot for looking every inch like a famous Hollywood superstar became an overnight sensation in Thailand. Let's hear more with Chatmongkon Pisamay Guson.
A KEANU Reeves look-alike is turning heads in Thailand as he keeps people second-guessing whether they are looking at the actual movie star. He might not be a Canadian like KEANU Reeves, but this German national certainly has that same charismatic look that could make people turn around more than once. People kept wondering if the famous movie actor left the glitz and glamour of Hollywood in exchange for a simple life in Thailand. A man looking every inch like KEANU Reeves is gaining massive attention in the country and abroad. Being a doppelganger of the famous international celebrity became his ticket to fame as his videos became a global hit online. Whatever he does, may it be making coffee, visiting a temple, or as simple as washing dishes, will surely earn massive views, with some of his short clips already reaching millions. Members of the public will approach and follow him in the streets, eager to take a picture beside him. The KEANU Reeves look-alike has been identified as Andreas, a German national. His Thai wife dyed his hair from blonde to a darker shade and make it grow a bit longer so he could resemble to John Wick actor, so much that it was quite hard to tell them apart. Social media users who are curious to see his uncanny resemblance with the movie superstar enjoy watching his viral videos on his TikTok account at TukTikLive. The real KEANU Reeves has not yet responded regarding his popular look-alike. Reeves played the character John Wick in the famous film series that started in 2014. The character was also the inspiration behind the German national's new look. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Shatmongkon Bisamay Goson, your Global Citizens correspondent for SM9 News Channel.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. The greater the trial, the greater the blessing. The greater the persecution, the greater the miracle. And that's all for this edition. For more updates, you may visit SM9newschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Jayne Codnita, and this is Newsline World.
Subscribe to SM9 News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.